I came in as a fullback and running back in college. And within a year and a half, I was playing defense as a linebacker, right? And so that's how I think about our competition or our industry in general, is we're all on the same team. We might have different positions, we might play different sides of the ball, but ultimately we are one and we are one team. So no, there's not competition between me and you, but I'm going to compete to be my best with you and against you, because the greater good is the people that we're working with, right? Seeing their success, hearing their stories, and being a part of that's what's important. So really, to me, it's we're all one team. So we need to get together so we can help these people get to wherever they want to go in their lifelong journey with wealth.
Welcome to Midland Money Mindset, your weekly dose of inspiration and insights to ensure you enjoy each step of your journey. Whether you're saving for the future, planning your next big adventure, or simply looking to add more joy to your life, you've come to the right place. Now, let's dive in.
I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Midland Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Midland Financial. Today's guest is Stoy Hall, CEO and founder of Black Mammoth. Stoy is a dynamic entrepreneur and leader known for his innovative approach to business and his commitment to fostering growth and success. As the CEO and founder of Black Mammoth, Stoy has built a company that stands at the forefront of financial services and strategic consulting, dedicated to empowering individuals and businesses to reach their full potential. With a background in finance and a passion for helping others achieve their goals, Stoy has developed a reputation for his strategic acumen and his ability to navigate complex financial landscapes. Under his leadership, Black Mammoth has become synonymous with excellence, innovation, and transformative results. Join us as we dive into Stoy's entrepreneurial journey, explore the principles that have guided his success, and uncover valuable insights on leadership, business growth, and financial empowerment. Well, I have the pleasure today of being with the CEO and founder of Black Mammoth, Stoy Hall, and I am so excited for this conversation anytime I get together with Stoy. So welcome to the show, Stoy.
Larry, I appreciate it. And our energy together is just so much fun. So I'm really excited to get into this.
It is a lot of fun. So listen, you and I have known each other for a while. I'm sure many of our listeners may not be as familiar with you as I am, but we'll talk about a lot about what you're doing today and Black Mammoth. But before we dive in there, can you share with our audience a little bit about your background? What led you up to the point of founding Black Mammoth? How did you get there?
Yeah, absolutely. It all started back when I was a child. And I grew up with a household that really wasn't financially literate or educated in finances. Money was not really flowing that well, but also my mom always made sure that I had the newest shoes, right? Or something like that. And I learned early on that sometimes people put more energy and effort towards the dollar than some of the experiences or times with people in their life. And so I knew early on when I was a kid that I wanted to help, right? I wanted to figure that out. So ended up going to college at Drake University, play football because I'm an athlete. That's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. And I worked at the Boys and Girls Club off campus, and I found that I wasn't alone, right? It wasn't just how I was raised. It was actually majority of us were raised this way. And the social, well, not social media at that time, the media at that time, even now. So today is always very rigid of like, you go to school, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, you retire. And I feel like there was something missing in that. And ever since meeting you, I throw in the word joy there a lot, right? It's joy that is what is missing. And so I wanted to get involved and help these people understand that there's more to life than just like the dollar itself. And so started at a school, went to an insurance company, did the whole life insurance 1031 thing there, split off, went to an RA out of Houston, really loved the RA space, the flexibility, the things you're allowed to do, and really what financial planning is about. And then in 2020, I was like, hey, I like this whole modern family office feel, this deal with business owners. Why don't I launch my own? And so in September of 2020, I launched Black Mammoth and haven't really turned back. I love partnering with everyone else, but that family office dynamic of being there through all of the decisions, not just financial, means a lot more than the money. It truly does.
Sure. It's very rewarding to help a family walk through and work through a lot of challenges, as you know. So thank you for that. So I've spoken several times on this show about the power of being you, your authentic self, how important that is. And that's something that you practice on a daily basis. So how has being you helped you grow and connect with others?
Yeah, early on it was tough, right? This industry is predominantly white males. It's predominantly back then we suits and ties. Like it was very cut and dry, black and white. And being a black male early in 2011 in this industry, you really felt like you couldn't be yourself. And I know I had Darrell Bland on my episode, and we talked about that as well. Of being a black male in this society, you feel like you have to follow in this norm. And it took me a while in my career to figure that out. But once I did, I started to realize that's what people cared about. People care about people. They want to know who you are. And when you transition to the financial planning piece and you're taking care of their emotions, it even more so is more about who you are in your authentic self than it is how much you know about an investment or how much you know about how to do a plan. And when that came to fruition and I recognized that, that's when I started doing my podcast. That's when I started doing articles, going to conferences and speaking with you. I just got over the fact that like I don't need to be like them to be successful. I just need to be Stoy because that's what brings me joy and I can be happy all day long doing what I'm doing as opposed to feeling like I'm trying to be this thing or this person.
Right. We don't need robots, right? If we need robots, we could let AI take this over. So I think the fact that people like yourself, myself, as well as being your authentic self helps separate us from that homogenous pool that's out there that I think is on its way out. And I think the authentic self and people like yourself are on the way in. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly would agree. And if you really think about it in history, the most successful, however you define that, are their own person, right? We'll take Elon for example. He's a weird cat, but he's his own person, right? And he's authentically to himself. And once you're that way, I think success comes with it, no matter however you define that.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, this was an iteration that you went through yourself. You just kind of outlined it for us. And I'm sure you're not the only one. There are others listening to this show currently, whether they're in the financial profession or even another profession. It really doesn't matter. They could be an entrepreneur, a business. It really doesn't matter. It's similar, but different. For those who may be fearful about putting themselves out there, what advice do you have for them? In terms of being able to do that and being able to attract those people that will be attracted to their authentic self.
Yeah, first it's a journey. I might have talked about it and it seemed pretty quick, but it was over. Let's see, I started the industry in 2011, and it really didn't come out until about 2020. So like it took a while for even me personally. And so you got to recognize one, it's a journey. So it's going to take a while. Hopefully quicker for you because you're listening to us, but ultimately it's going to take a while. The first step though is recognizing like what actually brings you joy, right? I'm going to steal that one from you a lot. Is what brings you joy and happiness. Like figure that out. Because once you can figure it out for yourself, then kind of all of the other facade stuff falls away over time. You just know, hey, I love doing this. I love speaking about this or whatever it is. And you just stick to that. It allows you to say no to those things that come in from the outside. As an athlete, it was very much the same way. I know I needed to train because if I didn't train, then I wouldn't perform later down the line. And it's the same thing with this mentality or living joyfully for yourself is I know every day I'm training for that opportunity that when it comes up, I can be successful. And so you just know every day going into it, this is what brings me joy and happiness. Everything else, I don't need to be involved with. I don't need to use my energy for.
Right. And I love that you use that word energy because I don't know if you're familiar with Gino Wickman and the EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, but he wrote in one of his books, he was talking about how he went to, I think it was his wife threw him a 40th birthday party. And when he walked in the room, there were like these different groups of people. There were people from high school, there were people from college, there were people from his business ventures and his business dealing, and there were clients. And he looked around and he was like, man, this is going to be a really draining evening, because he was a different person with each one of these groups, because he was a different human being at those different points in time. And it was there in that moment that he decided that he was no longer going to do that. He was going to be his authentic self. As he says it, his quote, "I'm going to let my freak flag fly, and I'm going to conserve that energy, and I'm only going to do things that energize me and don't drain me." And I think that's exactly along the lines of what you're talking about right there.
Absolutely. I mean, it is exactly that. I used to grow up and call myself like a chameleon or an amoeba because it depended whatever group, like in high school and even in college, like I could be a part of any group. It didn't matter, right? It could go from the goths to the jocks to it didn't matter. I could fit in. But at the end of the day, you realize like how draining that is because you're being a different person. So I love that. And now I'm gonna have to go read his book and catch up on what he's doing.
There you go. Listen, you mentioned about earlier being an athlete, and I think that being an athlete is vital to helping towards success, because there's a lot of inherent values and traditions that you have from being an athlete, and being so regimented, if you will. How do you take merging the competitiveness of being an athlete with having an abundance mindset, which I know you have, right? You don't believe I got to do this all myself. You believe of this, there's enough to go around. So how do you merge that competitiveness that you have as an athlete, but at the same time, maintain that abundance mindset that, listen, all tides can rise, the high tide can rise all ships, right?
Yeah, I'm very unique in this respect that I came in as a fullback and running back in college. And within a year and a half, I was playing defense as a linebacker, right? And so that's how I think about our competition or our industry in general is we're all on the same team. We might have different positions, we might play different sides of the ball, but ultimately we are one and we are one team. So no, there's not competition between me and you, but I'm going to compete to be my best with you and against you because the greater good is the people that we're working with, right? Seeing their success, hearing their stories, and being a part of that's what's important. So, really, to me, it's we're all one team. So, we need to get together so we can help these people get to wherever they want to go in their lifelong journey with wealth.
So, is there a way, because you and I both know that there are certain individuals out there that don't have this belief per se. They feel like they should be serving everybody, and if somebody's not working with them, it's a potential threat or competition for them. Is there a way to enlighten them to the same kind of thought process in terms of, you know, what you just said? Really, at the end of the day, as advisors, our goal and our job is to help all families, as many families as we can. And some may be best served with Stoy, some may be best served with me, some may be best served with Jarrell. Is there a way to get others to kind of adopt this same thesis, or is it some will, some won't, so what?
I think it's a all we do on our podcast, the more we talk, I think is helping, but it's hard to get through and over. It's because it comes down to do you care more about people? Do you care more about money? Right? That is it. Those that care about money think everyone's in competition. I should have it all. And realistically, you can't serve, in my opinion, you can't serve clients to the utmost degree that you should or that they should receive if you have 1,000 clients. I top out, and I've done my math and I've talked to others, about 40 to 50 for me and my setup the way we are. Guess what? 40 or 50 doesn't really do anything when we have 133 million adults in America, right? So I need to talk to more of us. I need more of us to have that same philosophy. That way, when I meet someone, I can say, I don't like, we don't fit, but Larry, Jarrell, all those others already here for you and they're open for it. And that's the same mindset we all need to have. If that was the case, our prospecting would be very low. It would be all referral based, both from our industry and our own clients. And we would really start to see, I think, a movement shift of people getting sound financial advice and planning in their life and not just investments or, what the next TikTok reel is trying to tell us.
Yeah, great point. So, I want to take a shift, pun intended, for a moment here. When you and I shared the stage at Shift, and we decided not to have this canned, presentation, if you will, very scripted, and it was super fun. And I know that, many people in our profession even would have shied away from that sort of unscripted appearance. Most people like having a script, maybe even a teleprompter to help them with that script. And, we decided to just go out there and be our authentic selves and have a conversation and include the people who are attending our workshop as part of that conversation. For those who are in our profession, even not in our profession, who would benefit from public speaking, how have you gone about honing that skill? Because it certainly is a skill set. What have you done to get better, smarter at public speaking to make it easy so you don't have to have that scripted type of appearance?
The best way I can put it is once you figure out your authentic self, the rest of it goes by its wayside, right? Because you're just being you. You've done the research, you know everything, and some of that is the confidence. But to get started is to be a guest on a podcast, to write to an article and just put your words out there. Honestly, the way I started it the most is I would just go to Facebook and make my own post in my own words and just throw it out there, right? Once you start to realize that when you throw it out there, there are people listening, they'll engage, then you start to get that energy of like, oh, I'm doing this right. Like this isn't too bad. And then you kind of just build off of that, and then you get other opportunities to speak at Shift, etc. But ultimately, it comes down to be your authentic self, know yourself, and really, you just kind of have to put yourself out there and do it on some more safe. Facebook's not safe. Nothing on the internet's safe, but also more safe because usually it's more of your friends and family, right? It is more of those people, and that's who you want to talk to. And guess what? That's the whole point of us posting and doing what we're doing. We're talking to those people that we want to work with or that are in our spheres. That's your message, right? So just act like I'm talking to Larry or you're talking to me, and that's how you should get started with reaching out and putting yourself out there.
So you just have to pretend like you're talking with somebody who you're friendly with, a family member. I guess the old adage, you don't have to think about the audience being naked or anything anymore. That's out. You don't have to do that. Maybe it's not even politically correct anymore. I don't know.
Probably not.
Listen, one of the things that I love that you did or have been doing was your 12 Days of Giving series, and I was completely honored to be day 6. Can you talk about what the 12 Days of Giving series is and how you've had success with that series?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 12 Days of Giving popped into my brain one day, and I forgot who. I think I might have been talking to you shortly after, but I wanted to put together on my podcast, No BS Wealth, a series that was about giving back to everyone else at a time during the holidays that everyone's kind of with their families and, it's all feel good. And the point was, hey, get these professionals that are in our industry or subsequent industries around us and have them talk through a client story. Now, it doesn't have to be a success story. It just has to be their story and what they've done to one, want to work with one of us, two, the path and journey that they're on currently, and what it's made them feel like or what it has done for them, right? Successful or not again. And the whole point of that was doing something very short, very focused on the client for everyone to recognize that they're not in this thing called life alone. There are a lot of people in your situation. So you might feel like you're alone. You might feel like you're the only person in the world that's going through what you're going through. We're here to tell you you're not. There are many others, and there's others that have hired us as professionals to help them through. And that's really what the series wanted to be and is about to recognize. And I know you said this comes out around September-ish. So if you're listening now, we're starting to film and get those stories ready for this year's 12 Days of Giving, which will kick off December 12th. So that's what it's about. I loved it. Still love it. It still gets hits every day. And it's because we're being authentic to our clients and we're taking their story and putting it out for others to recognize I'm not in this thing called life alone.
And I mean, was that, what's your end result? Like, what is your metric to say that this was a success, that now you did it in 2023, you're doing it again in 2024? What's your metric for success to say, hey, this is something that I'm going to do again and again and again?
It's the feedback that we've gotten from both the professionals doing it and their prospective clients, but also it's some of those ones that I get emails from saying, this is amazing. And I am reaching out to so-and-so.
Right.
I did this exact same situation. My husband had cancer and we're going through this, and listening to your conversation led me to realize I need to find someone that I can relate to reach out to help me through that. That is the only metric that matters. I don't care how many views. I don't care what it all comes to. It's the fact that we get those. And I don't care if there's 3 of them in the whole 12. Like, it is worth it just to have those 3 people say, I am moving forward with someone because this is my situation and I don't want to do this thing alone anymore.
Awesome. And that's going to be kicking off again on December 12th, 2024, right?
That is correct.
We're looking forward to it. I'll be listening and watching again, because I, even as somebody in the profession, really enjoyed the stories that were being told there. Even though we've experienced and helped people through a lot of them, it's always interesting to hear other people's perspectives on similar situations and challenges. So we'll be looking for that. One of the things you mentioned was your podcast. And, I think that this is something that is gaining a lot of traction, certainly more now than when I started 4 years ago, probably more than when you began. What does having a podcast series allow you to do differently? What has it enhanced for you, for the families you serve, your business, personally? What has it done for you?
It's allowed me to be out there more, right? A lot of what we do is PR and brand awareness and all of that stuff. It allows me to do that, but it allows me to talk like I'm talking now, which we do a lot of this in our client meetings, etc. And to take that content and show everyone what we're talking about, right? I feel as if a lot of people in our industry don't understand exactly what we do or how we talk or what goes through our situations. And using the podcast allows everyone to kind of get in our brains and hear from our actual voices what we talk about, how we go through it, and what these other professionals are doing as well, and take that content and be able to use it forever. It's always out there. We can cut it up 100 different ways, but it allows them to actually see the inner workings. I always go back to, obviously, a football nerd, right? Hard Knocks. I love Hard Knocks when it comes out every year because you get to see behind the scenes, right? And seeing behind the scenes of athletes and how things work really allows people to relate to them a little more so. And that's exactly what we can do with our podcasts, which turns into our video and all the other content we do. But that's what I love about it the most. It's stuff that's always going to be there from our voice, and people really get to see who we are from the content that we produce.
Yeah. What's an episode or a guest, whether it was like a concept that you had or a guest that you had, what was an episode or a guest that to this day you're like, man, that was such a great show. Like, I hang my hat. Like, if you were going to submit your podcast for an award, what would that episode be for you?
Oh, that's tough. There've been a lot of great ones. There really have. The one that keeps popping up, and the only reason it popped up to my head is because my metrics always kick off with it, is with Cody Garrett. And our conversation just led through like every journey path you can in this industry, from why we both don't like AUM, why investments are just school, to how important financial planning is, to kind of like the history of what's going on. But it was the flow at which we spoke about, and how directly we were talking to the audience about, this is real. Like, this is how it really operates. What you're seeing out there isn't always that real. And so I bring that one up only because my metrics on Mondays pop up, and it's usually the most downloaded over a course of time. But that was a fun one. I can't really pick one myself because I think they're all different and unique in their own selves, in their own podcast episodes. Even the ones we've done with you, I can't say one is better than the other. It's just really fun to get on and have people open up and have these conversations.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And one of the things that you're so good at, and you mentioned that just a moment ago, was, slicing it up, cutting it. You have amazing social shares for your podcast. So for those out there that might already have a podcast or thinking about having a podcast, also have a social presence, what tools are critical for you in order to help you do that, to repurpose that content and use it in other places? What are you using to do that?
Yeah, the two big ones that I use the most, obviously there's always going to be a handful of other supporting ones, but the two big ones are going to be your chat GPT to help me understand and take the episode, to correlate exactly what you want to say in the post, right? Obviously don't copy and paste because everyone hates AI, but like use it to help you formulate. I am a big picture visionary guy, so there's a lot going up in my brain, and if I can't get it down, then it's not going to work. So Chat GPT helps with the cadence, the scripts, etc. And then I use Opus Clip, OPUS.com. And what that allows me to do is input this data or this content, the video. It'll do cut ups and reels for you. And then you can go and edit and add those little, personal details to that. Those two have saved me hours of efficiency when doing these podcasts. When I first started, it was all manual, right? I did Adobe Premiere. I did my own cut ups. I did everything myself. And it took hours upon hours per episode. Now it's maybe an hour or two per episode. It's all because of those two, specifically those two softwares that really help support that.
Now let's talk about ChatGPT for 1 second, right? Because I think just as important as knowing how to use it and putting that stuff in there to help you formulate this post is the prompt that you're using to get it, right? Do you have like a favorite or a go-to prompt that you use to get that information in kind of the manner you want it?
Yeah, I would say build your because it's an AI, it's a bot, it's yourself. Like first you can prompt it and have it learn your business, learn who you are. And so that's what I've done. And I think that's more important than just whatever prompt you're using. It can learn your business, who you are, your writing, your content, etc., which will allow it to then, when you ask it a question, respond in the way that is more correlated to who you are. And so I upload it with a bunch of content. I tell it, hey, you're a marketing professional. You're an expert in the SEO side of things. Use my writing and use my voice to write me 6 tweets, right? To write me 4 LinkedIn long posts. Once it spits it out, then you can kind of detail it out. Hey, I want it to be more educational with a bold tone that makes it real for the people out there to engage with, right? And that's all I'm telling it to do and feeding it to it. And then it'll spit it out. And obviously I'm going to make my own tweaks because that's what I do, but it'll spit it out and it'll put it more in your tone. So that way you're not trying to edit a full thing anymore. It really hits upon most of it. You're just changing a few words in and out.
Yeah, I think it's very important that you just don't copy and paste because I'm sure you have too. I found errors with some of the information that's been spit out of there. So it is important that you still kind of review it, make sure it's still saying what is accurate, number one, and two, saying what you would say, right? Instead of just copying and pasting, like you mentioned. I think that's important.
One big point to it as well is don't just type it in there to randomly find out answers, people. Okay.
Right.
What we're doing is we're using our own content that is our own voice anyway, like just our own transcripts, etc. So it's just taking what we have and making it to where we want it. We're not asking for it to go find the answer to, what's the next hottest stock tip, right? We're not doing that. We're using our own content just to help us formulate it and put it out there as content. We're not making it do research for us and trusting that it knows what it's talking about, because I don't care how great it is. I'm still not going to trust that thing. I would rather do my own research on that.
Agreed, 100%. So I want to shift to something that you've said, and I've heard you say on a number of occasions, and I've heard other people quote you on this as well, and that is You can say a lot without saying a lot. I think it's a stoicism. I think it's been, tagged to you at this point. So can you explain what you mean by that? You can say a lot without saying a lot. What do you mean by that?
It goes two ways. One, you can literally just say it in a few words, and that's usually how people take that is you can say a lot by saying a few words about something, right? To me, it's not only that, but it's also your actions and what you're putting out there. It's not always about, hey, I'm going on Larry's podcast. He's an amazing guy, yada, yada, yada. It's more like I'm showing up, I'm sharing, I'm quoting on your posts, I'm talking to you on socials, right? I'm showing up. I'm not necessarily always speaking. And some of that matters more than, right, me actually speaking. So it's twofold. It is literally just taking and saying bold, short statements and letting people fill in the gaps themselves, but also physically being there without being the showstopper, out being the face, supporting others.
I think you might have to trademark that too, by the way, because I've heard you quoted with that quote by a number of people. So it might be a sign for you to do that.
Good, because I'm meeting with my trademark attorney this week.
There you go. So maybe add that to the list.
Yes,
So
throw that one in.
well, talking about trademarks, we ask each of our guests the same last question. We've talked a lot, and you've mentioned a number of times the word joy, and we're all about joy on the Mitlin Money Mindset. And the final question that we ask each of our guests is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
Yeah. Since it's early for me, it's in the morning. There's two things that brought me joy, and that is being able to wake up and go on my morning walk, my morning stretch routine. And then when I get back, have a cup of coffee with my wife in the morning in the silence without the boys up yet. And just be able to sit there in that presence in the morning. That's really what gets me going every morning as much as possible. And then it leads into, some greatness, which is being on your podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Stoy, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. And, we'll have all of your information in the show notes. But if people want to learn more about you, learn more about Black Mammoth, what's the easiest and the best place for them to do that?
Easiest place is blackmammoth.com. Everything's on there, very transparent on there. If not, you can find me in almost literally every social media presence possible, both on Black Mammoth and Stoy Hall. So I'm out there. I always ask one thing of everyone listening, and that's just communicate and engage with us on there. It's very fun for us to respond and answer and go back and forth with you on social media. So if you're a listener here, obviously keep doing it. If you're new and want to engage with me, please engage. I love having fun and I love doing that. So thank you.
Yeah, I love engaging with you also. We're looking forward to the new 12 Days of Giving 2024. That'll be coming out on December 12th. So if you can engage right away, definitely look out for that and engage there, because there'll be a lot of reasons to engage there. So Stoy, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate you taking out the time to do this and come on the show, and enjoy the rest of your day. I want to thank Stoy Hall for being a guest on the Mitlin Money Mindset. Stoy's approach to his business and, quite frankly, life is not often seen in our profession. He truly wants to take the time to understand those around him and determine what makes them tick. This passion allows Stoy to be the best advisor, father, and friend he can be. Not always in that order, depending on the day, but he is always there to help if needed. Stoy Hall and Black Mammoth can be found across most social media platforms. All the contact information needed to find them can be found in the show notes.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Mitlin Money Mindset. Remember, it's not just about the money, it's finding joy in the journey and embracing the right mindset. If you love the show, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Don't forget to follow along for more tips and inspiration. Please visit the social links below to connect with Larry or his guests. Until next time, keep smiling, keep thriving, and remember to think about, what did you do today that brought you joy?
The opinions voiced in the Midland Money Mindset Show with Lawrence Sprung are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy ensures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Guests on the Midland Money Mindset Show are not affiliated with CWM LLC.